How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sunday, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern. If you hear a screaming child downstairs for the next hour, it's my daughter. She hit her wall today. Mommy's been down on vacation for the last 2 days, and she finally hit her wall. Trying to calm her down, but babysitter's having a rough time. So I apologize in advance if you hear Hanalei for the next hour. Anyway, it's Wednesday here on this program. We got a lot to get into here today. Oh, do we ever? Did you know that Rick Steiner was kidnapped last night? I don't even know where to begin. But yes, we're going to talk about NXT 2.0 and a lot of other news as well, because there's actually some big news. We've got the Raw after WrestleMania, largest audience for the show since January of 2021, in over a year. Largest audience for the show on Monday. They had a huge first hour by Raw standards. So we're going to tell you about the ratings for the Raw after WrestleMania. It was a big success. We'll see where it is, obviously, a month from now, but that was the Monday numbers. We got AEW Dynamite tonight. And in fact, we have qualifying matches for the Owen Hart Foundation men's and women's tournament. And in the men's tournament, it will be Samoa Joe in his Dynamite debut against this poor Max Caster. Just one horrible beating after another. But that's tonight, and we'll give you the full lineup for the rest of the show as well. We got updates on Cody Rhodes coming off Monday. Gunther talks about his weight loss and his name change and his focus on nutrition. So we got that to talk about here today. And New Japan is coming up this weekend, and we got a big guest on today, literally and figuratively. We'll tell you about it after the break. Wrestling Observer Live.
Sup, guys? It's Denise. As you all know, I got to attend the AEW Revolution Media Scrum, and we got a very emotional interview from CM Punk. So I rounded up some of the best moments. Take a look.
I loved ROH so much, and
Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. We got a lot of news to get into here today. And don't even think I'm not reviewing NXT 2.0. In the final segment of the show, however, Big Damo is going to be on the show here today. The former Killian Dane. He will be wrestling for New Japan this coming Sunday night. And you want a mean guy match? Have I got a mean guy match for you? Big Damo versus Tomohiro Ishii. They'll be tearing it up on Sunday in Hollywood. Wish I could be there, but I can't. I'm getting right in NXT. So we got to get going because this is the shortest segment we've got today. Because I got a lot to say. And I may need more time. So it opened up with Gunther coming out as Braun Breaker is doing a promo. And this crowd is just, I don't know what's up with this crowd. This crowd, I'm over this crowd. Cameron Grimes came out later in the show after he won the title for his father who had passed away. And half the crowd chants, "You deserve it," and the other half chants, "No, he doesn't." His dad died and he won the title for his father. And we're doing the "no, he doesn't" anyway, whatever. And he's a babyface. So Braun Breaker's out there, and they're getting all these chants and everything. And out comes Gunther. And I'm like, oh my God, I cannot wait to see this feud. Holy smokes, this is going to be awesome. They announced a match for tonight in the main event. So I figured, well, maybe we'll have a run-in or whatever. So then we had the Creed brothers versus Imperium. And they're having this match. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the match, Fabian Eichner just walks out on Marcel Bartel. Like, there was no spot. There was no nothing. It's like he broke up a pin, and then he walked out. And Marcel Bartel is all by himself, and he gets beaten. So I don't know what's going on there. Then we had the two masked assailants. They have been messing with the Creeds. They jump them after the match, and they unmask, and the announcer's like, "Oh my God, look who it is!" But they don't tell us who it is. And then the other one, I remember who started and who ended, but the other guy goes, "I know those guys. They're from NXT UK." I'm like, yeah? Who are they? And finally they spit out, "It's Pretty Deadly." But I think both guys forgot who they were, and someone had to tell them over the headset because it was forever before they told us who they were. So Pretty Deadly has debuted. They will be squaring off with the Creeds here. So then we had Cameron Grimes coming out, and as noted, he does his promo, and he's all emotional about his father's passed away, and the crowd's heckling him, half of them. And Solo Sikoa comes out, and he wants a shot at the North American title, and they're going to have a match, so that should at least be good. We had a bunch of Joe Gacy promos that sucked. I don't know what's going on, but they're Joe Gacy promos, so you know the deal. Then we had Dexter Lumis versus Duke Hudson. So they had all these vignettes over the weekend, which couple's hotter and everything like that. So they show us a couple of the clips. And the clips are funny because, I've said it a million times. I don't need to see Dexter Lumis do a lot of matches. But, his character in the vignettes he's in, fantastic. Well, now he's got to wrestle. And so him and Hudson are wrestling. And they both end up outside the ring. And the referee is counting. And then both women try to get their man into the ring. They both fail. Then all four of them fall down in an orgy-rific pile. But, they want you to think stuff like that, but they actually want to show it. So they cut away so fast when they were all laying on top of each other. It's like, why are you even bothering if you're, afraid to actually show this? So anyway, they cut away and we never saw it again. They both got counted out. That was cool. Then we had Toxic Attraction versus Raquel and Dakota Kai. So for those of you, I don't know if you're following this story or not, but WrestleMania was Saturday. Guys, remember that show? Do you remember night one of WrestleMania? The show that started at 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific Eastern for the pre-show and ended after midnight, so 6 hours if you wanted to watch the pre-show. And then they decided, well, earlier in the day, we're going to do this NXT Stand and Deliver show. So, if you're on the West Coast like me, it started like 9 or 10 a.m., and I'm like, I ain't getting up at 9 or 10 a.m. to watch this show. But you know what? Some people did, and more power to them. If you're that big a fan, you're going to watch, a 3-hour NXT show and then a 6-hour WrestleMania show. Like, I'm not going to say anything bad about you. I could use a lot of loyalty like that on this program. But anyway, so if you did that, if you went out of your way to watch 3 hours of NXT before you watched 6 hours of WrestleMania, well, man, what you saw. You saw Braun Breaker fail to win back the title against Tommaso Ciampa. You saw an NXT Tag Team Championship change where Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai won the tag team titles. Well, if you put all that work into watching that show, Monday night on Raw, Braun Breaker won the title on Raw. And then the next night, they did a rematch for Toxic Attraction, and Raquel and Dakota and Toxic Attraction, they won those belts back. So, you were sure rewarded for watching that Stand and Deliver show. So yeah, we got new tag team champions. They have won the belts back. Then we had Tony D'Angelo doing a segment. AJ Galante. This poor bloke. All he had to do was a ceremony to crown Tony D'Angelo a made man. This was too much. This segment was horrible. Forgot lines. Nobody cared. And then he was heckled. And then Tony D'Angelo was given a ring. He's now the Don of NXT. He's a made man. MSK cut promos about how they'd won the titles. And then Grayson Waller's out there with his arm in a sling. And the babyface tag champs challenged the guy with the broken arm to fight for the titles tonight. He's like, dude, I'm hurt. So they didn't do the match tonight. And for those of you wondering, I hate to break kayfabe, but Grayson Waller's not hurt. But it looks so bad that they're going to pretend he's hurt. So that's why he had the sling on. Which is good, because it looked like he killed himself. We had Nikita Lyons and Lash Legend. Whew. I mean, it wasn't horrible. I mean, the match with Vince McMahon at WrestleMania was like 1,000 times worse. But I'll talk more about this in a moment. Santos Escobar and Legado del Fantasma ran into Tony D'Angelo and AJ Galante, who are apparently a duo now. And, they both essentially told each other to stay out of each other's business. And then the main event was Braun Breaker and Gunther, okay? And I was so excited to see this, headline a takeover, whatever they call the takeovers now. And I can't even believe I'm complaining about this, but they went in there, and they had a very good match, and they had a clean finish. Braun Breaker beat Gunther in the middle of the ring with his move, pinned him 1, 2, 3. Now, why am I complaining about this? Well, they gave this away on TV for free as a setup for Braun Breaker's next challenger, Joe Gacy. The former vaulter was a setup guy for Joe Gacy. That's going to be the feud and the long-term feud here. Joe Gacy has kidnapped, because we joke about it, but it's actually not a joke. There is a kidnapping on this show every other week. And this week, Rick Steiner has been kidnapped by Joe Gacy. That is the setup for this Braun Breaker Joe Gacy feud that was set up by Braun Breaker just pinning Gunther in the middle of the ring in a random main event unadvertised on NXT 2.0. The only thing I got to say about this is what the good thing about this match, besides the fact that it was good, was Braun Breaker is going to be somebody. And what I like is he's being thrown into the deep end. Because, this was not something that Braun Breaker and Gunther practiced for a week. Gunther's in there, he's calling spots left and right. So I think that this was kind of like I shouldn't say last minute. But, it was sort of last minute because, this whole thing on Monday was last minute. So anyway, he had to go in there and he had to do a call the match. I'm sure they went over some stuff, but this was call the match in the ring. Listen to Gunther. Do what he says. Get in there and actually work. Which, of course, is the opposite of what we saw with the Nikita Lyons match. Nikita Lyons and Lash Legend, like, they practiced their match probably for weeks. They got in there. You know, they managed to pull it off. But you ain't going to learn to work like that. You're just going to be able to pull off a match on television. Which, you know, if that's all you want these two to do, that's fine. But Braun Breaker needs to learn how to work. And this match with Gunther, I mean, he was in there. And he's a better worker now after the match than he was before. So I like that aspect of it. We'll get Mike's thoughts after the break. Talk more. Observer Live.
I can't explain how happy I am that like my footage, it's in good hands. You know, it's just good to know that it's in the hands of somebody who treat it well. I literally feel like my baby is in somebody's hands that I know will raise the child the right way and do good things with it. And you know, it won't get made into just some tab on a shitty, confusing app that's hard to navigate. And the boys don't get paid anything off it, you know what I mean? So it's just, it was, you know, it's very good. But to kind of pay homage to, you know, myself and stuff like that, listen, I didn't get to do this for 7 years. This didn't exist for 7 years for me. And, you know, obviously the truth is that I love professional wrestling very much. So, you know, to come back and to be able to, for 6 months, you know, it's not just do whatever the fuck you want. It's doing whatever the fuck you want and being cocky enough to know that your way is not the right way. There's never only one right way, but it's fucking good. Yes. And to have somebody that listens to you. And to have somebody that can take an idea and make it even better. And just to have an open dialogue, not just with him, but with other people in the locker room. And it's just, it's great that you don't have to beat your head against the wall and explain, you know, like why your ideas are shitty and why I don't care who you think you are, that you don't know what you're doing. And it's nice, it's everything's just so great.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Before I go, do not forget to head on over to F4W Online's YouTube channel. We are on our way to 100,000 subscribers, and we need you to come and join. So if you haven't yet, head on over there and click that subscribe button. See you on the next video.
Anything else? All right, Mike, your thoughts on NXT 2.0?
There's a lot of talent on that show, both a little bit seasoned and a lot of raw talent, obviously, with people like Braun Breaker and such. But when they pulled back after he defeated Walter Clean, I just assumed Fabian Eichner would be standing there, you know, explaining where he went. You know, that would make some sense. Okay, he just beat Walter Clean. We just had Imperium lose the tag titles. You know, things are falling apart. But you know what? He lost his mind, went to the back and said, you know what, saw Rick Steiner there and decided to take him. I don't know. It would have made more sense, I think, than Joe Gacy. But I am not a seasoned CZW viewer. I'm not. I don't know if Joe Gacy did a lot of training at the CZW dojo. I know a lot of people have come out of that, gone through it. The MJFs, a lot of people wrestled for CZW. I know he was a big part of that. I'm guessing, and I'm throwing this out there because I don't know. Maybe this is, obviously they want Harland with Joe Gacy to try to learn something. Maybe this is a good thing for Braun Breaker. Again, I am not.
Well, he's a fine worker, but he's not Walter.
I know, and that's it. To me, Braun Breaker working with Eichner and being involved with having some friends go after that whole group, to me, would be better for Braun Breaker. But maybe, again, this won't be the end of the world. But the problem is, it's just the Gacy character, and I don't know. To the NXT crowd, is it over? I mean, that's some of the metrics on some of the stuff that WWE is doing and doubling down on. It's like, you see, in some cases it's worked. Tony D'Angelo, people took to, and he's been able to kind of hold up to his end of the own in the Ciampa feud. We've had Braun Breaker. We've had some successes there, but we've had some things that they have obviously done that they keep doubling and tripling down on that I don't think are very good at all. And again, I don't know. I'm kind of up in the air on this because I know at the end, Braun Breaker should be standing victorious, and I'm sure he'll do it, and I'm sure he'll do something impressive to Harland to throw him. But, I'm just kind of hoping against hope here because I really don't know about Gacy and the character and whether people are going to care when the match is actually taking place.
No. But maybe they have to train him to do sports entertainment storylines, and so he's got to have this feud before he can go up to the main roster.
It's so silly because that's where he should be. I just don't understand why you don't make that move. He's lost to Dolph already, and you just bring him up there as a surprise, and he starts throwing people, whether it be on Raw or whether it be on SmackDown, especially with some of the moves that they've made. It's still, again, it's a continuation from yesterday. I just don't understand why he's there to do that when he could work with so many people on the main roster, go over them, and they could build that. But who am I?
We're off to WrestleMania, largest audience for the show since January of 2021, which, by the way, was a special Legends Night episode. So if you go back, well, I guess night after WrestleMania special. Best 18 to 49 numbers since the start of the 2021 football season. 2.10 million viewers. 0.63 at 18 to 49. Numbers far more impressive when you consider the show went against what could be one of its toughest nights of the year for competition, with the NCAA Men's Championship game going head-to-head with the second half of Raw. This led to Hour 1 being the highest rated, when of late it has been Hour 2. 19.3% drop, Hour 1 to 3, which is usually the sign of a bad show, but in this case it's a sign of a basketball game. The North Carolina-Kansas game, which aired on TBS, TNT, and True TV, 17.05 million viewers. And are you ready for this? Raw did a 0.63 at 18 to 49, which is stupendous for Raw, so to speak. 0.63. This North Carolina-Kansas game did a 4.72 in 18 to 49. A 4.72 in 18 to 49. Holy
sports, baby.
Golly.
Two traditional powerhouse teams. Hey,
you guys realize?
No surprise there. Surprise.
Listen, I don't think you guys get it. Raw, okay, is normally in the top 10. And sometimes it's in the top 5, and sometimes it's like 1, 2, 3, okay? It rarely comes near a 0.63. This game did a 4, not a 0.4, did a 4.72 in 18 to 49. So the Raw number is even more astounding. It's more stupendous when you think about it. 2.32 million viewers first hour. 2.11 million second hour, and 1.87 million in the third hour. So very, very good numbers.
So TBS and CBS and Turner Sports have this deal. They extended it out, I believe, here through 2032. The 8 additional years of the contract when they signed this thing a couple years ago are worth $8.8 billion, nearly matching the value of the original 14-year deal, which was $10.8 billion, signed in 2010. It is amazing what live sports will do, and hey, wrestling has the ability to continue to piggyback off of that. So it's absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing, those numbers that are thrown there.
This person says, normal folks don't watch this trash wrestling product. You realize that Raw and Dynamite do very, very well in the top 50. So all those numbers I gave you, about 4.72 compared to Raw's 0.6, most every other show on television comes nowhere near a 0.63 either. So nobody's watching nothing compared to this basketball game. So we got Dynamite tonight. Samoa Joe, Max Caster, men's tournament qualifier. Karushita, Julia Hart, women's tournament qualifier. Given this is a multi-week tournament leading to the end of May, so multi-month, why do we have qualifiers for the tournament? Why don't I just have one more round of brackets? But anyway.
So we can push storylines. We're debuting Samoa Joe, and we got to figure out how brooding Julia Hart is in this match.
Adam Cole, Christian Cage. Tables match, Hardys versus Butcher and Blade. FTR versus the Young Bucks for the ROH Tag Team Championships and the AAA Tag Team Championships, so don't miss that one. Eddie Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz will all be appearing. And Tony Khan... Whoa. Tony Khan, on his Busted Open radio appearance on Wednesday, made a point to say that he is, quote, going back to his ruthless roots when it comes to the lineup for Friday, and it will be a stacked-up show. So, obviously, Rampage has not been doing great on Friday night, to say the least. And,
he's going to have to do that more. And I think they probably should. Look, Friday is the day that they're on. It's hard to move to a new day. It's hard to move to a new time and really be able to scratch something out. And apparently, TBS and TNT are happy where it's at. But it has become the show for wrestling fans that if you're going to miss something from AEW, yeah, you're going to miss that over Dynamite. That's just the way it goes. But when you have the NHL playoffs, when you have the NCAA tournament, when you have all of these things that are playing with you, it may just be you really have to ebb and flow that show kind of around these big events, and then you have that stacked show after 3 weeks of not getting any attention at all, and you're looking forward to baseball coming up and all the other things that are on those properties. It's like, man, you really are going to have to dance around this because, we've talked about the day. It's not moving off of that day. The best thing I think they can do is probably replay it in other places like True TV, like places like that. If you can spread AEW programming out all across the Turner networks, I think that would be great. But this is the only thing I think you can do is try to promote strategically around this stuff, and you better hope it hits.
Gunther was asked by Wrestling Inc. what he's been doing to get in shape. I guess eat less, Gunther said. I always worked out a lot, but I would say for the first time, I have really focused on nutrition. These two guys, Marcel Bartel and Fabian Eichner, really pushed me. They're shredded. I've got to say, when I was a wrestling fan, I always liked the look of these solid heavyweights in Japan who had a little bit of a gut carrying around, just brawlers and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you've got to go with the times and evolve a little bit, and that's what he did. So for those of you that are too heavy, trying to lose some weight, Gunther has advice for you. Eat less. Which actually is
part of it, yes.
Hey, I was
eating the
I hate
right
to digress and everything like that, but I always eat well, and I was doing the old, I can't say it was keto, but it was pretty low carb. And then one day I thought, you know what? I'm almost actually it was because I was going to Hawaii. And so I decided, you know what? I'm not only going to eat like this, but I'm going to calorie count. I'm going to cut my calories a little bit. And I just disappeared. I got down to 133. I got so skinny that I thought I could have a disease of some sort. So I started eating again last couple of days, and I'm back up to 140. So I don't think I have a disease. But anyway, the point is, if you eat less, you'll weigh less. That's my advice today. Me and old Walter, we're eating less together.
Exercise, eat the right things. And Walter's still a young guy too, and it's a good time to make a lifestyle change. He's going to be like 35, but he's a lot of wrestling time, things like that. And I know there's people that will look at Vince. Look at Vince at 76, but it's hard to carry around that kind of weight as you get older.
Sure is. Back in a moment with Big Damo, Observer Live.
Sup guys, it's Denise. As you all know, I got to attend the AEW Revolution Media Scrum, and we got a very emotional interview from CM Punk. So I rounded up some of the best moments. Take a look.
Man, I'll put it to you like this. I love Bret Hart, and Bret Hart's career was cut short. And it's a goddamn tragedy because there's people that go over Saudi Arabia and they get paid millions of dollars. And, that should have been Bret, and I just feel super fortunate and grateful and appreciative that I got a second chance, I'd give it up in a heartbeat to give it to Bret. But I'm going to enjoy it, and I just love that motherfucker so much, He's the greatest, and he was right. He was fucking, Bret Hart is always right. Let's talk facts. It was either Tony was going to buy it or Vince was going to buy it. And I don't want Vince to own any of my footage. He owns enough of it. He owns enough of it that I don't get paid off it.
Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Very happy today to be joined by Big Damo here, who's got a big weekend coming up. Damo, how you doing?
Doing very much.
Oh boy, we just got a problem with the connection. Try that again. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Promise not to swear. Is it working?
Yeah.
Well, how you feeling after this weekend? You had a couple matches down there in Dallas. How did WrestleMania week treat you? And how did Calvin Tankman treat you? A monster of a man to go head up with.
It was an incredible experience on the other side of the WrestleMania weekend. And we're wrestling at 11 a.m. and then 2 a.m. at the same day was certainly something new. My adrenaline peaking like multiple times per day. But Calvin Tankman was a lot of fun to wrestle. He's an incredible talent. And hopefully we can wrestle again at maybe like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Might be a bit more fun for both of us.
Well, how do you do? This is a heck of a thing here, because you had Calvin Tankman, but then on the other side you had Warhorse. So certainly diverse body types to work against. What is that like on these weekends where? And I know you've been in WWE for a while, but on these weekends where you're facing multiple people, all of different sizes and styles, does it wear on you a little bit? Does it make it tough on you at all?
Honestly, that's what it's all about for me, because you're getting to tell different stories with different people. And like, if I was just to wrestle Calvin Tankman like 12 times over 2 weeks for like it was like the WWE schedule, then it would probably get very old very fast. And so it's a lot more fun when you're against somebody completely new 12 hours later. So, and for me, obviously, having to get ready and get pumped for 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning was new, and it was absolutely incredible experience for me, because everybody, if you've met Warhorse or you've wrestled Warhorse, you've seen him wrestle, you know that he's a little crazy, and it's hard not to get excited when he's running around like a mad person.
I got to ask this question because I've been a fan forever, and you have as well, and all of us. And I'm a small guy myself. And sometimes I watch, there's two different kinds of matches that involve big guys, okay? There's either the two giants that face off against each other, and it's just two giant dudes pounding on each other. Or there's the opposite, which is the giant guy and the really small guy, and the giant guy just kills the really small guy. And every time I see either one of these matches, I can't decide which one I actually like better, because I'm a small guy and all, but it'll never get old seeing some big dude kill some small guy. But at the same time, it'll never get old to see two big dudes get in there and just pound on each other. So as a big dude who has done both of these styles of matches, which do you prefer? Another big dude or killing that little dude?
It's hard not to always enjoy the David versus Goliath story, because it's so obvious and it's in your face.
Yes.
But like, for me, it's always down to like, if the other person has any sort of skill, if they're a technician or a flyer, or if they're a fellow big man who can go, then that's all you want. Like, all you want to see is somebody who's got something about them. And if you're against a fellow move and they have a little bit about them, because if they're slower than me, then it's not going to be great. I want to be the slow one.
Yes. Now, what are your stats? We can do either legitimate or pro wrestling stats, but in general, your height and weight.
So you mean, when you say legitimate, you mean that's always? Because I mean, obviously
Sure.
So I'm 6'2", and I am 22 stone. So what is that in pounds?
6'2" and 22 stones.
310, something like that.
I think I got my stones wrong, because I don't think you're 400 pounds. But anyway,
308 is
308. Okay, thank you, Mike. 308.
I want to tell people that I'm 400 pounds, but listen, people believe you. That's all that matters.
That's true. So the reason I ask is because there is a big match coming up this weekend, Vermont and Hollywood. It is you and Tomohiro Ishii. Okay, now a lot of people that have seen Ishii on television but have not seen him live, he looks like Godzilla. He looks like a giant. But in reality, he's not. He's like 5'5". So when you see the poster of you and Ishii together, it looks like it's going to be the battle of the two giants. But really, he only carries himself like a giant. He's not really a giant, but he certainly works like a giant. And I know that this is a very important match for you, and it was a very important match for you a few years ago. Tell us about Ishii.
Honestly, I think I was the same as yourself when I first was watching him on YouTube or whatever else, when I was trying to get as many matches as I could. I remember thinking, oh, this guy must be massive, whatever. But it turns out he's just got massive heart, and he can actually throw anybody around. Because when I got up next to him, and yes, I'm much bigger than him, but the problem is, it's his job to put me down, and he certainly gave it his best shot. But a few years ago when we wrestled, it was awesome because he doesn't have great English, and I've got literally no Japanese. So for us to go in there and just get at each other, it was honestly one of the best experiences of my career up to that point, because I was literally getting in there working with somebody with so much experience, who's been in there with literally the best there's ever been. And I'm learning how he moves, how he does his thing, and I'm doing my very best to cooperate or be uncooperative depending on when it is. And honestly, it was so much fun. That match, helped launch me and change my path at the time in 2015. So it's great to meet him again 7 years later with what I've learned, and I'm looking forward to skinning him alive all over again.
How much of a influence was Japanese wrestling on you? Because I know over in the UK and in Ireland and Scotland and everything, WWE has been such a massive presence, but you started breaking into the business in around the mid-2000s, correct? When Dragon Gate and Noah and a lot of things started to filter over a lot more. Was Japan always a goal for you? Were you heavily influenced by the Japanese scene and got into all that?
Absolutely. I mean, I think as the world gets smaller with the internet helping a lot, we used to, trade tapes back in the day. Is that a copyright issue? I don't know.
I said, do you ever use LimeWire?
And then as the internet brought everything closer, suddenly we were able to watch everything. And then in the UK, we actually had the wrestling channel, which meant, for the first time I was getting exposed to the likes of Noah and everything. So suddenly I'm getting Misawa's almost entire career. I'm getting Kirabashi. I'm seeing Kenta's rise. And, there's just Jun Akiyama is one of my favorites. I love Sayama. He came over to Britain a bunch of times as well, and I got to see a lot of his matches. Later on, I got to go back and see what he was doing with the likes of Marty Jones and whatever else. So, I was quite influenced personally by British wrestling. Obviously, American wrestling, I'd be stupid. Of course, we're all influenced by that. But, the likes of Finlay and Judo Pete Roberts and stuff like that have been massive influences for me as a worker. But Japanese wrestling, I think that, we kind of adopted Japanese wrestling a little bit into our own culture. And absolutely in American wrestling over the last 10, 15 years, you can see it plain as day now. In any show you watch now, everybody there's kind of this little element of what we've picked up from there. And honestly, for me personally, the 2000s, well, I suppose, the late 90s, because I was a big WCW fan, you kind of started to learn what New Japan was through that way and with their cooperation. And then later on, with the internet, I was able to find out more about New Japan, All Japan, Noah, even Zero One. I got really into Zero One. I actually worked with Zero One with a company that I helped work in Britain. So, there's just all these amazing talents over the years who I've been very blessed to be able to spend time with and wrestle with and such not, and that it's hard not to be influenced by it. And I'll end up at an airport randomly with Eddie Kingston, and we're sitting watching the best of Kawada. That's just kind of what happened.
Oh man, what a time at the airport that is. And of
I
course,
imagine everybody else to see these two large men hunkered over this small phone.
Yeah, watching some dude drop another dude on his head. Now, what about the Ultimate Warrior?
Well, I mean, I'm sure when I was a kid, when I was 5 years old, Ultimate Warrior was Sting,
Yeah.
But sadly, as I got a little older, it became less about Warrior and more about guys.
I don't know if I would say sadly, Damo. I would say that you made the right choice to not model your career and your work after the Ultimate Warrior.
I don't know. Listen, I think that there's a thing about face paint these days. Everybody seems to be into it. Maybe I'd be in better shape if I was a bigger Warrior fan. Who knows?
Well, hey, there is that as well. Now, I like the bald head. What happened?
Time.
Time. Well, yeah, that does happen. In fact, we got a picture of you on the show here with hair, so it's a little jarring to see the that lovely mane of hair that you once had. But I like the bald head look.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I think it was, for me personally, it was I wanted to shave my head for about 2 years because I think actually I go all the way back to War Games, and that's when I first realized, okay, I'm maybe going a bit thin on top there. Never realized it was that bad, but okay. And then as the lighting gets better, the cameras get better, it's suddenly a bit more obvious to me. And I remember I actually pitched before I went up to SmackDown. I pitched, listen, can we maybe do something where I shave my head or whatever? And they were like, oh, we could maybe have Lars Sullivan, shave your head, bald, whatever. It never really came to fruition. And fast forward a couple of years, and when finally it was time, it was probably about 2 days later, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go for it now because it's the only thing I could focus on. I don't really like watching myself wrestle anyway. I kind of forced myself out of habit. But the only thing I could focus on was my dome. So
oh,
it was
the worst.
It was time to get rid of it.
The worst. Now you're obviously working. What is your New Japan? I mean, obviously you've been watching it for a long time and Japanese wrestling for a long time, and you've worked with Ishii before, and you've got him this weekend. But I mean, there's a lot of great guys that not only are in New Japan, but New Japan is working with so many places that like there's a million potential opponents for you. Do you have certain dream opponents where it's like, oh my God, now I might actually have a chance to work with Tanahashi or Okada or whoever it's going to be?
Absolutely. Listen, like I'd be a fool if I didn't say Okada would be number one on any list that I'd ever have. I got very lucky. I got to wrestle Tanahashi. I got to wrestle Nakamura and Ishii, with Rev Pro. But honestly, I'm looking at Okada. I'm looking at Will Ospreay. I'm looking at Shingo. These are the guys who I want to get in there with. I want to be in front of the thousands of people in Japan, and I want to prove that I'm every bit as good as them. And that's the thing. It's hard not to watch these guys and think these are literally the best in the world right now. And I need to get to that level.
Now, you spend a lot of time in WWE, and I don't know why it is. I think because WWE has always been so isolationist that you just sort of have this idea that, well, if you're working for WWE, you're not actually watching any other wrestling, which, of course, is ridiculous. But, were you keeping, during the time that you were there, were you watching all of the major New Japan shows? And obviously AEW eventually got started as well. But, I mean, what were you watching during that period?
Well, the best part was, like, New Japan World came about, so it was one of the first people probably to sign up for it.
Yeah.
So I had it for years. And then, obviously, like, it's hard not to watch everything because I think one of the things for me is, because you're around wrestling so much, it literally becomes your everything. I think I was doing my best not to watch Raw and SmackDown, and I was trying to watch everything else because you wanted to try and be, inspired by what was going on in the world. And for me personally, I have so many friends like all across the world. So like I'm trying to keep up with the likes of ICW, Progress, Rev Pro, as well as trying to watch everything across the pond. You're trying to watch what's going on in the independents, or you're trying to watch what's happening with AEW. I always tune in to see like which of my friends are on Impact or whatever else. And then boom, you see that New Japan's created New Japan Strong. So you're like, wow, I need to figure out what's happening there. And it's like, the beauty is we're in this situation where there's just so much available to us. Whereas years ago when I was a kid, like, you had nothing available to you, so you literally had to do your best to try and go out of your way to get stuff. Now it's there for you, so if you're not watching it, you're an idiot.
Well, hold that thought. Back in a moment with more, everybody. Observer Live.
People need to understand that when I left, I was asking questions about the network, which had not been launched yet. I was saying, how am I going to get paid off this? We don't even understand what the pay scale is. I don't know if I get paid off a gate for a pay-per-view, off a buy rate for a pay-per-view. You guys already just throw darts at an imaginary board, and you pay me whatever you want. I still get royalties. That's the only hard copy thing I see is DVD sales. So once all the DVDs go away and you're just putting stuff up on the network, I'm not getting paid. Or am I? Tell me, let's talk about it. Oh, my guy, you're good. Oh, yeah, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. They couldn't tell me. And now I've watched my royalty checks, which I still get, dwindle to nothing because they just put everything on the network. And the boys don't get paid. That's not just me. That's everybody. That's criminal.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Before I go, do not forget to head on over to F4W Online's YouTube channel. We are on our way to 100,000 subscribers, and we need you to come and join. So if you haven't yet, head on over there and click that subscribe button. See you on the next video.
Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Big Damo joining us here. He's got a big show coming up on Sunday, New Japan in Hollywood. It's Damo and Ishii in a battle for the ages. And we got to get some plugs in here, Damo, and hopefully we can get you back on the show again, because all we did during the break was talk wrestling. There's a lot to talk about.
Absolutely. We didn't even get a chance to cover off Eric Young. We'll be here all day.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we talked during the break about Eric Young. For those of you that don't know, Eric Young is pretty much the greatest, whether you know it or not. He actually is. So someday we'll talk about that. But let's get some plugs in. What do we got for Twitter and everything like that? Pro Wrestling Tees.
So absolutely everything is at Damo Mackle. You can get me on Twitter, Instagram, Pro Wrestling Tees. It's Damo Mackle, all one word.
At Damo Mackle, DAMOMACKLE. And yeah, as noted, there's everything you need to know is up there. There's links to upcoming shows. There's links to the Pro Wrestling Tees. I see we got 3 new shirts out here, Damo. Celtic Chaos Beast and Big Damo's Irish Red. You can check all of those out at Pro Wrestling Tees. And as noted, this coming Sunday, New Japan Mutiny at the Vermont Hollywood. Coming up Sunday, you can get your tickets now. Big Damo's going to be facing Tomohiro Ishii, a bunch of other matches as well. I think our own Filthy Tom's going to be there. Lots of great stuff. So, Damo, I want to wish you the best of luck with New Japan. Thank you so much for doing the show, and let's do it again sometime.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me, and I'll see you guys very soon. Best of luck with the show.
Yep, thanks so much. And, of course, thanks, everybody, for listening. We got news breaking, everybody. Nash Carter has been fired. We'll have more at WrestlingObserver.com and some other stories breaking today as well. So that's it. We got to go, though. Talk to you again next time, Wrestling Observer Live.